Okay. Well, I'll do a quick introduction and then I will hop kind of right into it. So my name is Tim Grahl. I know I just put Tim from Tigo, so hopefully that was easy enough. I am the Senior Director of Sales for the East region, so basically everything east of the Mississippi. I do have 3 different territories within my region, sort of a Northeast, the Midwest, and the Southeast. The business development manager that typically I would have to really support us together as a partnership. I'm backfilling, so I've got a couple of awesome candidates that I'm hoping to possibly make an offer within the next week or 2. So I just say that so that you'll know that I'm always here as a resource, but if as we progress down the line, we'll also have another dedicated business development manager for you to turn to in case you have any questions. So with that said, I am going to share my screen. Screen this one, share. And what we will go through today is a quick Tigo product overview, talking about some of our product solutions, as well as architecture and kind of how things work. I'll kind of keep it high level, but kind of give us enough information to be dangerous, if you will. But we can always discuss, and Hillary, I think we've spoke about this before, the idea of coming in and doing like an installer training in-house. We can bring in one of our subject matter experts, myself as well, and do more of a technically geared training for any folks that you may have as well. So I will go ahead and hop into it. And please, so I'll do the presentation, but as questions come up, feel free to ask. That way it's, you know, a dialogue and not just me sort of talking about slides and who we are. But to give you a quick sense of the agenda, I will introduce Tigo as a company in case you don't know about us. I'll then hop into our TS4 Flex MLPE, that stands for Module Level Power Electronics. We do have a key differentiator called selective deployment, which I'll mention. From there, we'll hop into the residential solar solution, energy intelligence software, and a bit of our green glove and support that we offer as a service to all of our installers and distribution partners. So quickly getting into Tigo and who we are, just so you have a basic understanding. So we've been around since 2007, so we've been in the solar industry for quite a long time. The cornerstone of Tigo has been module level power electronics, MLPE for short. Trying to look and find mine here. You'll see images that I'll share, but it's a little device here that you can kind of see. Clicks behind each module and provides different features and benefits that we'll discuss. Fantastic company. We're going to really been the cornerstone and an industry leader within MLPE. I like to highlight we are actually on all 7 continents. Yes, that does include Antarctica. And so our devices that are used for the features here, it can be installed in the harshest of cold environments in Antarctica to the deserts of Australia and the Middle East. So definitely well suited to withstand the more temperate environments that we have here in the Midwest. A bit about Tigo's mission, and you'll kind of hear me weave in these 3 main pillars of what our mission for the solar industry is. One is enhancing safety, making sure that all systems are not only safe for just safety reasons, but also meeting code requirements that we have in most of today's markets. Increasing energy yield. I mean, that's really why people go solar, is for the solar production. So ways in which we really help to maximize that. And then also lowering operating expenses. So the ability to quickly and easily install and deploy these products as part of the solution to reduce those installation costs. All right, I'll just pause. Any questions about Tigo? If not, I'm going to hop into the MLPE family that we have.
No, it's great.
Okay.
Antarctica too.
Yes, there's a research station down there that we were proud to be part of a project down there. And so it's awesome when you can say all 7 and not just 6, but don't include Antarctica. We are down there in a system that's been performing well. Yep. For probably about half the year, I guess, right? And just thinking that they probably get a lot of sun 6 months out of the year and darker other times. But in any case, so let me first of all introduce the lineup of our TS4 family of products. It's the TS4-A-O, and then I will abbreviate everything, -S, F, and M. So we have different options that is available to you and your customers depending upon the needs of the customer, maybe the budget at hand, code requirements, and things of that nature. So these break out into, first of all, optimization. So that's the ability for each module to produce at its own peak performance, right? And so sometimes a system will be installed in a string. So if you have an inverter and let's just say 30 modules, you may have 3 strings or groups of 10 modules apiece. And what can happen is when a single module may be impacted by shading, or maybe it degrades over time, or maybe it gets heavy soiling, its efficiency will be reduced relative to the other ones on the string. And what can happen is that one individual panel can bring down the entire string. And so by having optimizers, again, it allows each module to produce at its own independent maximum production relative to the other modules on the string. And by doing that, on average, we actually see it's 6.6% more electricity by having optimization on a system. Especially on the residential market, optimization is pretty much a standard, right? So when we're looking at our competition out there, if you don't have optimization, you're kind of selling yourself short and you're at a severe competitive disadvantage. So nearly all residential systems have optimization. You then drop down to rapid shutdown. This is almost universally across the country a new NEC code requirement. Without getting into the details, basically it used to be before that a system itself had to shut down within a certain period of time. They advanced that recently where the modules themselves have to, within a certain amount of time, it's a few seconds, get down to a very low voltage, 0.6 volts per module. So by having rapid shutdown, it just helps to meet that code requirements in order to officially turn a system on. And then last but not least is monitoring. And it's just not system level monitoring. It is also the ability to see how each module is producing. And it's not just in terms of the production, meaning the watts or the kilowatt hours being generated, but with our monitoring, what's unique is you can see a ton of information in terms of like the volts and the amps and the current and the temperature and lots of other things that I can show you here a little bit later on. It's more useful to the installer, more so than the end consumer. But for the installer, having that ability to log into Tigo's monitoring platform, check if a system is functioning well, or if not, if it looks like it could use some service, to, within the comfort of their own office, log in, see each module, how it's behaving. We have easy ways that help to troubleshoot things. You can see quickly and identify, oh, it's that module right there. I can tell based off of the characteristics that a diode may have gone out. I need to go out and replace that module. So it's just a great opportunity to enhance the long-term O&M and reducing truck rolls for the EPCs and developers. So with those 3 different features and benefits, we then break it out into what I like to generalize it as kind of like a good, better, and best type of value proposition. And so on the good side of the spectrum, you can see our M and then also our F. They each have one purpose that they have, one feature, one benefit. The M that you see here just does monitoring. That's it. Use case for an M typically is a ground mount or a carport. So that's a system that may not have rapid shutdown requirements because it's not on an inhabited building. And maybe they're saying, look, this ground mount is wide open. There's no shading. You know what? I'm not worried about optimization, but I want to be able to see the system long term. Great. You put a M unit on there, you can actually see how each module is producing over the life of the system. We don't sell it a lot, but it's there. Moving on, we then have the F unit. This one just does rapid shutdown. That's it. This is primarily used for larger C&I installations. And it's typically used for C&I installations because it's most cost effective because it's the simplest of our devices. And in larger commercial projects, the cost can become a key differentiator and the customer really driving towards the lowest cost per watt. And so sometimes the installer or the customer may sacrifice the benefits of having monitoring and or optimization and simply say, just help me turn my system on, help me meet code. That's good enough for me. So that's really what this F product here is used for. However, you get what you pay for because you don't have any monitoring, you don't have any optimization. So you take the M, you take the F and kind of, do a mashup, if you will. And then that becomes the next step up, which is better, is the S unit. It's going to give you the rapid shutdown, but it also gives you the monitoring. You will see on our price list that the price delta between the F and the S is a couple of bucks. So if at all possible, try and encourage your customers to at least go with the S. And the reason for that is if they ever need to contact Tigo and say, can you help me troubleshoot? Can you, I feel like I have a problem out in the system or with the system. If they use the F, we have zero visibility to that system. And so it is completely incumbent upon that installer to be very descriptive and talk us through what they're experiencing out in the field because we can't see it. We cannot help remotely dial in and kind of through the use of monitoring, try and diagnose or help troubleshoot. So for a couple bucks more, moving up to the S is well worth the investment in my personal opinion and having, from experience from a lot of our installers. But then moving on, we then have the O. It's really the Cadillac. It gives you all three benefits universally for our residential system. And I will also explain how O's can be used for commercial projects coming up in a couple of slides. But this is the all-in-one. Gives you monitoring, gives you rapid shutdown, and gives you optimization. So last thing before I pause, take a breath and open it up for questions. You see I bolded and underlined this 700 watts. The reason that I did this is key. This is what I call Tigo differentiator number 1. So all of these units can go up to 700 watt modules. And when you compare us against our competition, other solutions in the marketplace typically vary between maybe around 270, 280 to maybe 325, maybe 350 at maximum. And as you'll probably be seeing in the residential market, modules are now typically maybe 400 at the lowest to maybe 450 watts and potentially even above. But that 400 to 450 is really that sweet spot of residential modules. And if you're putting a device that limits the module's performance, to 300 watts, you can experience a lot of clipping and not get the full maximum power production or yield that you could potentially be getting out of that system. So by allowing those modules to have up to 700 watt capacity, when you put that, it's called a 425 watt module, and pair it with our optimizers, and it's a nice bright sunny day, and that system's really cranking, you can really extract maximum yield out of that system. So I'm going to pause, see if there's any questions, take a little drink. Any questions so far on this slide here with the TS4s?
Yeah, Tim, I'm curious how the sorry, I'm standing out on the street walking, but if there's any background noise, but how the platform communicates. Does it communicate through whatever inverter? How do you guys get access to the internet?
That is a great question, Andrew. I will be walking you through the architecture of how these operate. But good question. You're a little bit ahead of me, but I like where you're
No worries. No worries. And then my only other question was, with the different types of quote unquote MC4 connections, I believe you guys are true MC4 connectors.
Yes,
is that correct? Yeah.
Correct,
okay.
Yeah. Yep. Excellent. Thank you for those, Andrew. And I'll get to the architecture here. And I'm going to preface when I get to the architecture, because otherwise I'd refer back. So remember this one thing. The F unit has its own architecture because it does not have monitoring. The M, the S, and the O are going to have a different form of a communication architecture because we need to extract that monitoring. So keep that in mind when I get into how these all work together. F is its own architecture type, but the other ones with monitoring, our monitoring group, you'll see what I mean here coming up in a couple of slides.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Leading up, these are all on a 1-to-1 ratio, meaning you need one device for every module, with one exception, which is back to that F product. We do have an F unit that is what's called the 2F. So you can see the difference. It has two sets of leads, meaning you can connect it to two different modules. And then letting you know, we don't want to spend too much time, we do have the 2F, and then it's in a 15 amp version. And what that does is allow you to do up to 500 watt modules, two in total, 1,000 watts, or a 25 amp version that does allow you to get up to that 700 watt capacity, 1,400 watts total. Moving on from there, what's great about this and the flexibility is it can be, like we've talked about the performance and the safety, but what I like over here and kind of summarize this slide is I can take the same optimizer that I have in my hands today. I can install it on the simplest, let's say a 3 kW residential system, to a 300 kW commercial, to a 30 megawatt utility scale. It doesn't matter. It's that unit, that device can go anywhere, and then anywhere throughout the globe. So a lot of versatility, a lot of flexibility. What that means for you is you don't have to worry about stocking certain items for residential customers or certain items for commercial customers. It's all one SKU, just helping to streamline that. Moving on to this slide here, as I mentioned, Tigo has really been the cornerstone, the foundation of Tigo has been the slides that we just spoke about there a couple of minutes ago, are MLPEs. And in order to really allow us to be successful, we had to be agnostic, meaning our installation partners could use our optimizers or rapid shutdown and pair it with a Solus inverter or a Solar inverter or CPS, or up to 1,400 different makes and models of inverter. So we really don't care. Like if you, again, you're an installer and you want your preference is Solus, great. You can use your Solus inverters, use our MLPE for whatever purpose you have, and then complete your installation. And much in the same way for modules, whether it's Q cells, Canadian Solars, Jinkos, doesn't matter. So we're completely flexible for what you would like to use. We do have resources on our website. There's like a Tigo inverter compatibility tool. So if you were a customer said, hey, I want to use a Solus blah 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 make and model inverter, you can look, find it, make sure it's compatible. Chances are it is, but you can always confirm that through our tools and resources. I like this slide simply so that you can see it's a fast and easy installation. So there's these alligator clips that are kind of on the top of it, kind of as you can see. They literally just clip right to the frame of the module. After you clip it to the frame, you simply connect the shorter leads to the module itself, and then you connect the neighboring device with the longer leads, and you're done. So there's no tools, there's no wrenches or nuts and bolts to go sliding down the roof into the gutter or flower beds or what have you. Takes you about 10 seconds and you're done. So very, very simple installation, very fast. So questions on that before I get into one other feature that we have?
Nope.
Okay, good. All right, so we can also do what's called selective deployment. I'm going to go ahead and advance the slide here. So our competition, if you want to have optimization on a system, it's an all or nothing value proposition. So you've got to put optimizers everywhere. And I talked about how when you go from an F to an S, and that's that next step up, it's a couple bucks. Well, candidly, to go from the S up to the O, which gives you optimization, it does add about $8 per module. And so that I understand, right? So we're talking an extra about $8. Now, residentially speaking, I would argue that, you've got 20, maybe 30 modules, you're talking a couple $100. It's not a big deal. But for your C&I customers, another key advantage that we have is the ability to be very strategic about where you want to potentially put optimization. So I've been up on a lot of commercial rooftops, maybe some of you folks have as well, but you get up on your typical flat roof, big box store, grocery store, whatever, manufacturing, whatever it might be. And for the most part, it's wide open, right? There's oftentimes it's away from trees, so there's not shading from trees. You're up high, but inevitably there's maybe a parapet wall, or there's an HVAC unit, or a penthouse for the elevator, or let's just say stuff up on the roof that has a limited impact to the system of shading from that stuff on the roof. So with Tigo, what you can do is you can place the O's, those are the ones with the optimizations, selectively and strategically in the places that you do have the impact of shading. But in the entirety of the array, if you want to save a few bucks, again, that's maybe about $8 to $10 per module, by going down to the S, you can do that because there's no shading there. And so with these commercial projects, you can, kind of be more of a solar artist, if you will, find that sweet spot where you can really get the maximum ROI by putting optimization where shading is most present on an array. And we do have a full case study. I'll kind of walk you through quickly, but in the interest of time, I'll kind of keep things moving. With this one here, it just sort of shows you that if you were to use zero optimization, we're estimating you would be producing about 171,000 kilowatt hours a year. If you have the all or nothing expense of, okay, we're going to put optimizers everywhere, great. You're going to, increase your power production up by another 12%. But again, if you were strategic about where you put the optimizers, find that sort of sweet spot there, you can increase your performance by 10%, but also save on some of those initial investment costs as well. So Tigo is the only one that can do this, so another key advantage. But again, mostly as you see here for more of your commercial applications. So, all right, so that was what's called selective deployment. Andrew, this slide is for you because this is how we now talk about how the system and how the architecture all works together for our O's, our S's, and our M's. Remember, those are the ones that have the monitoring. So here's how this works. Is you've got your optimizer up here on the roof. You've got one of these for every module, right? How these work is they actually create a wireless mesh network, easier for me to say, where they all sort of talk to one another, kind of like if you have a mesh network in your home or in your office for Wi-Fi. So they're all sort of using each other to create this mesh network. In addition to the optimizers on the roof, you also have what's called the TAP, the Tigo access point. Think of the TAP as the antenna or the receiver that picks up the communication between the optimizers. So that's receiving that signal. Again, it's up on the roof, and then you're hardwiring it with an RS-45 cable, kind of like a Cat5 cable, down to what's called the CCA, or the data logger. This data logger is what communicates via the internet. You can either connect it via Wi-Fi, or there's an Ethernet portal you connect into, so that the system is now connected to the internet that sends that information to Tigo, so that we can, show the portal or the dashboard or the system information for the customer for that specific project. We're going to talk about the Tigo inverters and our full solutions here in just a minute, but I want to take a second just to mention, if you buy a Tigo inverter, it has the CCA built into it, and it comes with one of these taps already. And together, this is about a $200 value of the additional accessories that you have to have. If you're using us with, let's go Solus or GoodWe or a Chint or something like that, they may have a model of inverters that has the CCA built in. Most don't. So chances are, if you have a customer using this system with a Solarc or something, they will also have to have these as accessory items to complete the communication architecture, so that we can actually monitor the system for them. And the last thing on this slide I want to point out, just so that you're aware, you can connect up to 700 optimizers for every single tap. So that's a big system that just one tap can do. But there is one limitation, and that is line of sight communication. And the analogy I like to use is, you've got your AirPods in your ears, you set your phone down by your desk, you walk out of the room to go somewhere. And if you go through one wall, you're probably okay. But if you get too far or you go through too many obstructions between your phone and your AirPods, you lose that connection. Same is true with the tap and the optimizers. So let's just say that hypothetically you have this subarray, but there's another section of the array on the other side of the roof. The communication network from the one that it's hard to see on the other side, it's going to have a hard time getting through the shingles and then the decking and then whatever's in the attic and then another layer of decking and shingles to make its way over to this tap. So whenever you have parts in an array separated by physical obstructions, all you have to do is daisy chain another tap over to that side of the array to make sure you got a healthy communication signal and you're good to go. These things cost about $40 a piece, so it's not an expensive item. But as you work with your customers, just keep that in mind, and we can always look and review a system. But if you see that there's multiple different subarrays going on and there's physical obstructions between them, chances are you'll probably want to have a tap for that certain one.
Tim, is that tap just installed along the rail next to another Tigo? Or
exactly right. Here, I'll pull one up. That's it. Well, so it actually has its own set of alligator clips. So if you can see here, there's alligator clips. So basically, it's recommended you put this as much in the center of the array as possible. But if you clip your optimizer to one module, just clip your tap right beside it, kind of in the middle of the array. Doesn't have to be perfect, but somewhere there, and you're good to go. Yep.
Okay. And then that CCA, I assume, needs to be in, like, if it's outside, a NEMA 3, NEMA 4 box, and a power supply, 120.
Exactly right. So, and then we sell this as its own item, but then we also have a CCA kit, and that's going to give you your power supply, an outdoor enclosure, and the kit itself.
Okay.
Yep.
Awesome.
Cool. All right. Just want to do a quick time. I think we're doing good. But we'll keep it moving. But Andrew, thanks for the questions there. I want to talk real quick. So, do you guys anticipate doing a lot of commercial installs?
90%. Yes.
Mostly commercial, yeah.
Okay. So if you're doing commercials, I'm going to take a minute just to explain, and I kind of prefaced this several slides ago when I said, remember that the F has a different form of a communication architecture. Let me just walk you through what that means. So we talked about the mesh network and the tap and the CCA. That's everything that has monitoring. If you're using the F, which is just rapid shutdown, what that does is that it uses what's called this RSS transmitter and what's called a core. So if you can see, it's this little donut looking thing below it. To quickly describe it, basically what this does is think of this transmitter as monitoring the grid, and it sends out a keep alive signal or a heartbeat out into the system. And it's basically saying, yep, everything's good. Stay alive, stay on, good, good, good. And so you have one of these transmitters onto each inverter. And all you have to do is you run your DC lines through this core, and it induces that keep alive signal, basically telling these rapid shutdown units, stay on, everything's fine. As soon as it notices that the grid is down or somebody intentionally turns it off, maybe the fire department, or you're doing testing and you want to de-energize it, you turn it off. This RSS transmitter sees that, and that keep alive signal, that heartbeat, goes away. And as soon as the rapid shutdown units senses that signal is gone, they turn off on the module level. So that's how you get that module level rapid shutdown protection. So that's how that works right here. There's your transmitter, there's the core. I do want to mention, because you guys are possibly doing commercial, sometimes I'll skip over this, but because you are, our transmitters have what's called pure signal technology. And I'm going to explain why that's important. So remember I said the heartbeat and it sends out to the signal. That's on its own frequency. It's in its own wave. And before, you had to keep everything separated. Otherwise, you could have what's called crosstalk, and that causes confusion, for lack of a better word, in the system. And the analogy that I like to use just to try and explain what crosstalk is imagine the old days of when you're say old days because now most people stream and listen to podcasts or Spotify or whatever, but you're listening to the old radio, right? And you're driving down the highway, and there's that point on the road where the signal from one radio station kind of bleeds over to another radio station, and you're kind of getting two radio stations at the same time. You don't know what you're listening to. In the past, you had to keep everything separate. If not, you get them too close, and that sort of one can bleed over into the other one. It can cause confusion. So what we do is we have what's called pure signal technology. So if you have multiple inverters, you can actually sync these up together so it has one synchronized heartbeat, so you don't get any crosstalk situations. So I'll just say, without going into too much detail, if you have questions, I'm happy to answer them. But just take a mental note here. If you have a customer asking for the rapid shutdown devices only, flag that in your mind, because we want to make sure that the systems are designed and installed properly. We'll talk about it in a bit, Green Glove and Tigo Academy, and we have a ton of information at their fingertips there to support them. But with that one, we want to make sure that they don't unintentionally cause a situation where they could have crosstalk. All right.
Listen, that's kind of similar to like how you have to have a separate comms conduit from your DC cables and whatnot, so you don't get I gotcha.
Exactly. Yes. And here's where I didn't want to get into too much of the weeds there, but that is exactly it. You start to put things together, things bleed, then unfortunately things start to fail, and we're here to help, right? Nobody's doing it maliciously, but when it's installed the wrong way, there can be adverse effects. Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Yep.
Excellent. Okay. So we're up to our next chapter here. But any questions before I move on, as far as like the F units, or even going back to the architecture there with the O's?
Nope.
All right. Good.
Nope.
Okay. So again, Tigo's been around since 2007, and what we've talked about so far has been really with the success and why Tigo is an industry leader there. But let's face it, it's a small piece of the solar puzzle. So a couple of years ago, we launched what we call Energy Intelligence, and this is basically a full solution outside of modules, which we're module agnostic. We now have a full solution for you and your customers to really compete. There's a duopoly out there. No disrespect to Enphase and SolarEdge, they've been great companies, but they need a little competition, right? And so that's what we're here for, and that's what we have, a fantastic product that we are excited about. And it really leads off with our inverter. So this is our inverter that you see right here. It comes in 3 different sizes. It comes in a 3.8 kilowatt, a 7.6, and then an 11.4. So 3 different sizes. The sizes there largely cover the range of residential. But if you have a smaller commercial, maybe it's 100, 200 kW, sure, you could put on, 8, 10, 15 of these inverters and make it work. It's a lot of inverters. I understand that. We are hopefully by the end of the year going to have some commercially sized inverters, but this is what we have for today. I'll say Tigo advantage number 2 is all of our inverters are hybrid inverters. And so what that means is they can be used for your typical grid tie system today, which most systems are outside of California and maybe a couple of other markets, where batteries and storage are growing in adoption, but it's still nationally about 15%. So most customers still say, let's just go solar. Storage isn't really necessary. It'd be a nice to have, but I'm going to hold off on doing that for now. By having a hybrid inverter, it means that it can be battery ready. So it's great if they want to install batteries now, but if they say, let's just wait, maybe in 2 years or 4 years, I want to add batteries at a date in the future, they can do that. So that means you don't have to go swapping out inverters and everything. It's storage ready. You're good to go. So a couple of things. One, that gives your installers the ability to, have that customer be a repeat customer into the future. And it also helps for you as a distributor to reduce the number of SKUs and models that you need to stock. That's it. You've got your 3 different sizes. They're all hybrids. You don't have to worry about stocking some with hybrids, some without. Makes it easy for you. Everything has a Wi-Fi. We have the cell communication if you want to add that to it. These can go up to a 2-to-1 DC to AC ratio, which is the most in the industry. And that largely you want to push that maybe if you have a battery system. So you can have a battery, and instead of having the inverter clip, you can just store the battery during the day, use it at night, and replenish the battery as well. The inverter has a 50-volt startup range. This is nice and low, and the reason that's nice is it helps to wake up quicker during the day, stay awake longer in the afternoon. You pick up that long tail of the system production. That just means more power, more energy yield. You can see the MPPTs, maximum power point trackers, 2, 3, and 4 respectively. Nice and lightweight, 12.8-year warranty, and yes, that can be extended out to 25 years. So that's a quick look at our inverter right there. Any questions on that one?
Do you still need all the comms units? Like, how does communications work with these? I see that it's Wi-Fi and Cellcom optional, but does it come hardwired, and do you just run that up to the roof? Or?
So remember when I said, great question, but remember when I talked about if you buy the Tigo inverter, and this is just an opportunity for me to reinforce it, this CCA that you see here is already built into it.
Right.
The transmitter is already built into it. And right in the same box, yep, you get one of these taps. So
awesome.
You're good to go. Yep.
Very cool.
Moving over to our battery system. So you can see this is the cabinet. Inside of each cabinet is a 3.3 kilowatt hour battery. You have 3.3. That gives you 9.9 kilowatt hours of storage. What's nice about that is we ship the battery cells, which weigh about 50, 60 pounds, in the cabinet, which weighs about 50, 60 pounds on a pallet, but they're separate. So in total, they're about 300 pounds total. But let's just say that you wanted to install this down, a flight of stairs in a basement or something. You take the cabinet by itself, great. You take the individual batteries, you very quickly install it there where it's supposed to be, and you're good to go. Basically means you're not schlepping a 300-pound piece of equipment around in and out of a truck and into the garage or down into the basement or whatever. Just makes the moving and setup much easier. But you can configure these cabinets in a 1, a 2, or a 4 cabinet configuration. So that's basically going to give you 10, 20, or 40 kilowatt hours of storage that you can do right there. This is LFP, lithium iron phosphate. It's just a more stable battery chemistry. These are NEMA 4, so you can put these batteries indoors or outdoors. They have an operating range down to about 13 degrees. So that means if, in our environment, I know especially in the winters, it gets below 13 degrees. So it may mean you want to put it in a garage or inside potentially, especially if you want to protect against winter outages, but they can be indoor or outdoor. Partial or whole home, which I'll talk about the ATS size. And then like most batteries, you can switch between time of use, self-consumption, backup mode, different features available for that. So this is our current battery that we have today. And the reason that I say it's our current battery that we have today is because we have a new and better battery coming out, but we have about 900 of these units that we want to sell. So before we can bring in the new, which I'll talk about here in a minute, we got to get out the old. So could be a great opportunity. If you have customers interested in solar and especially storage, we are doing a buy 3, get 1 free promotion, which makes our batteries extremely competitive in the marketplace. This truly is a while supplies last situation. When we're out, we're out. So again, if you have customers that may be interested in a storage solution, this could be a fantastic opportunity while we still have it. Because what we want to get to is our new, what we call our Go battery. I'll kind of quickly talk about it, but even I haven't gone through the full product training yet. But what this is in simplicity is you've got the brains of the system up here, which is your battery management system, your BMU. And then each of these blocks that you see are 5 kilowatt hours of storage. And you can basically stack this in a 5 up to a 30 kilowatt hours of storage, and basically just add in the number of blocks that you want. So it's a great battery. It's a little bit denser, a little bit thinner, smaller, but again, going back to this, in the meantime, this is a fantastic battery, and they're priced to move. So if we can help you with that and try and get some out for you and your customers, we'd be happy to do so.
This is great. I have an email that I'm drafting up just as presenting Tigo as a new vendor for Exel, so I will definitely include this.
Perfect. And we do have some promotional materials there that I'll try and distribute out to everybody. Maybe Hillary, if either one, I'll look and see if everybody's email is on the meeting invite, or if maybe we can sync up, or if I can give it to you, whatever the best means of distribution is. But yes, we have some tools that we can help with that.
Great.
All right. Okay, and then with any storage, you need to have your ATS, automatic transfer switch. Comes in 2 different sizes. A 50 amp for partial home, so that's going to give you, 3, 4, 5 of your critical loads that you want. Or most people select to do the 200 amp backup, which is more of a whole home application. Just so you know, the 50 amp pairs with the 3.8 or 7.6, and then the 200 pairs with the 7.6 or the 11.4. And then lastly on this, the 200 amp will also connect into a generator. So if they have a generator, and when I say generator, not your more mobile ones, kind of roll it in on a cart, fill it up with gasoline type of thing, but a true generator with a start-stop type of switches, you can actually connect that to the ATS. And so if you're in a situation where it's a prolonged outage, maybe it's several days, you can use the solar to charge the batteries. But if maybe it's wintertime, right, and there's been a big winter storm and you're out of power, those batteries will last you so long, but the sun's not generating enough to keep them topped off. You can have your generator kick on. You can actually set the point. So maybe it's down to 30% state of charge or 20% state of charge. You hit that level, the ATS will automatically trigger the generator to kick on. The generator will go, run, bring those batteries back up, and you're good to go. So we've got generator compatibility with the 200 amp ATS. We kind of package them up into different packages, but it's mostly the inverter with the size of the ATS, and then if they want 10, 20, or 40 kilowatt hours of storage. Okay, so that was sort of the hardware that we have. Before I move into the software, any questions about the hardware?
Oops.
Cool. All right. I want to keep. I think we're doing good on time. Okay. So here's kind of the last quick piece. So we have our EI, Energy Intelligence Software Package. I like this one because it kind of shows you can actually create a map. And then if you were to take like a drone image, you can put the drone, underlay that, put your module map so you can kind of see where the modules are. You can monitor each module independently, see the performance. I'll kind of show you how that works. But in monitoring, I'll show you the consumer view. But for your installers, they're going to have different levels of information for them. So it's going to start out, first of all, with a dashboard, or what we call a fleet view. So they can quickly log in, maybe once a day or even once a week. Log into the portal, check real quick. Hey, any alerts, any errors popping up? Nope, everything's good. Great. On to the rest of my day. Really see everything on a quick look, you're done. But if they ever notice that anything does need maintenance or they want to dive in, you can then go from the fleet down to the system and see system information, or assuming they have one of our devices that has the monitoring, that's when they can get into the module. And like I had mentioned, they can see the watts, but they can see the volts, the amps, currents, temperatures, a whole bunch of information available to them that they can diagnose what may be happening in the system so they can figure it out before they go roll that truck. And then for the consumer side, they'll have their own portal. It's a little, I won't say dumbed down, but it's one of those where the volts, currents, amps, that's more information than any like homeowner really needs to have. So it's a view that basically gives them important information like the production throughout the day. You can go in, you can move your battery, put it in different time or different modes. You can see the power flow, lots of information more useful to a homeowner. But I want to point out one unique thing that we do have as Tigo is with the optimizers, a customer is able to see exactly the amount of extra production they've received by having optimization. This is unique to Tigo. And our competition makes a lot of bold claims about, oh, do an optimizer and you're going to get 20% more power. There's very tricky ways in which they've worded that statement. It's not exactly true because you get about 6% more power by having optimization. But the key thing here is if I spend a couple $100 more on my system by having optimization, I can go into my monitoring system and I can see by the day, by the month, by the year, how much additional power I've received by having optimizers. And I can have the peace of mind to know that, okay, I spent a couple $100 in my initial investment, but over time, that's paid dividends. And over time, that's given me an extra thousands of dollars of added production and savings by having optimization. So again, this is unique to Tigo and one thing that we have with our monitoring. Few last things, and then I want to get into the support. These install fast. They install fast and they also commission fast. Takes you about 10 minutes to commission the system. If you have a battery, maybe add on an hour, but that's about it. Other competitors out there take hours, if not a day or more. It's very annoying to the installers when you're sitting there waiting for a system commission doing nothing else. With ours, you can get in or finish up 10 minutes and you're done. The flexibility, the ability to have hybrid inverters for future sales, the ability to sort of pick and choose with selected deployment, the flexibility to go up to 700 watt modules without worrying about clipping. All that goes into the benefit of having the flexibility that Tigo offers. And then, as I'm going to talk about here, the pre and post sales support is fantastic. And really one thing that we watch incredibly closely with Tigo, we recently launched what's called Green Glove. And this is a service for any installer using our product to go through, send us their designs, have our team basically do another set of eyes, double check, make sure that everything's compatible, that they've got all the equipment that they need, to provide installation training on the date of installation, have an advisor on call ready for you, to be there to check, make sure everything is registering properly during the entire post-installation process. So Green Glove is awesome. It's been a huge success for us. This is free for all of our customers that are using our products. And I kind of was talking about all the things that we do. It's for residential and commercial. And then the last thing is this slide, sorry. We also have what's called Tigo Academy. There are 3 different courses in Tigo Academy. As solar professionals, I would encourage us all. I've done them. I would encourage you guys too, as you get more comfortable with the Tigo product lineup, but especially the installers to, at minimum, have a project manager, if not more, go through. And there's a TS4 design and installation course. There is a EI, which is the batteries and inverters design and installation course. And then there's another course just about setting up and using the monitoring platform. So these are chapters that you can go through. Each one takes you about 2 hours to complete. You get continuing education credits for them, but it's a great tool, a resource there for them to go through and kind of a self-service type of thing. But in addition to that is, we've kind of mentioned on previous calls about we're here to help. Your success is our success. I've had great feedback in terms of partnering together and saying, let's schedule, 2 months from now, whatever it might be, a day where I'll come in. Hopefully, I'll have my business development manager onboarded by then, but then also one of our technical subject matter experts, and we will come in and we'll spend a day, right? So it's a come one, come all, come learn about Tigo, come learn how to install it the proper way, how to design it. So it kind of takes the place of a recorded online training and doing it real live and in person. Great success, which we love to really jumpstart the Tigo relationship with you all, and hopefully scheduling that sometime soon. So with that, excellent. I left myself a few minutes. Questions of what I went over today?
I think before everybody gets into questions or give them time to think, I just wanted to say thank you, first of all. And then if you can send marketing materials. I think I have a lot of your data sheets, but if you wouldn't mind sending me this deck, that would be awesome as well. This is great information that will help me put together some additional materials. We like to do a co-branded Excel Tigo PDF and emails and such. So thanks.
So I'll include our Tigo asset page, which has other different logos, branding things you can grab and pop on websites and all that too. So I'll make sure that you have that information.
Awesome.
I know you said that you're trying to sell all the other batteries first. Is there a timeline, regardless of when the batteries are released, like the second phase of them? Are they purely dependent on the first wave or the last wave of batteries getting sold?
It is. So we've had it. We've gone through stage gate testing of the battery. It's there. Well, it's not there in the sense that it's sitting on a shelf. So we have our beta samples or beta systems that we've gone through. We've done the testing. Like I said, we've done the stage gate, and we're just waiting to go to our production team and say, great, start making them, start building them. But to your point is, we are not manufacturing that product until we actually, not that we're going to wait until we're done, we're out. We're watching the run rate. Again, we've got about 900 of these. We anticipate our run rate has been a couple hundred a month. We're hoping that this promo accelerates that. But the goal, and I actually had a call with production last week, and they basically said, give us a month and a half of when you think you're going to be out of those 900. And when you are, we'll start making the Go battery so that it's an easy sort of transition into that new battery solution.
Cool. And then the new battery too, I didn't see it on there. And if I didn't, because I know the one that you're currently selling is a NEMA 4 rated for indoor outdoor. Is that new series going to be mostly indoor?
It can be indoor outdoor as well.
It is NEMA 4 as well. Okay.
Yep.
Cool. Very good. I think that's all I had. Andrew, do you have anything else?
Yeah, Tim, I apologize if you told us this already, but where do you guys manufacture?
I didn't, but that's okay.
Okay.
So our TS4s here, the MLPE,
Yep.
these come out of the Philippines and Thailand.
Got it.
The inverters, the Philippines and Thailand as well.
Yeah.
The batteries come out of China. It's impossible to get, well, not say impossible. It's next to impossible to get batteries outside of China, unfortunately.
And then do you guys have one kind of central warehousing hub? How does it work in the US as far as, procurement for us?
Yeah. And so that's a great sort of leading question. So we obviously, as I just mentioned, we manufacture overseas. We bring everything into, I'm not sure which port in California, but we do have a very small warehouse in Fontana, California. And it's really meant to be we kind of make it, we bring it in, get it out to our distribution partners.
Yep.
So with that said, a couple of key things to keep in mind. Our standard lead time is about 8 to 10 weeks on product.
Okay.
With it, so asterisk. So I'm putting a lot of ifs about this. If we have it in stock in Fontana, we're happy to get it out to you sooner, right? And that might take a couple of weeks. Yep. We typically will try and keep a stock of our inverters and the optimizers in stock, so we can. A lot of time the sales cycles for residential tend to be a little bit quicker. So for those, we do we do our best to keep that lead time to maybe a 2 to 4 week period. But anything, especially the F product and things like that, that's commercial with longer lead times.
Yep.
So hopefully in advance to say, hey, we've got a project coming up with XYZ Solar. They're going to need 1,000 F units. They don't need these for a couple more months because of the whatever. But then hopefully we get to the run rate with you guys so that you're stocking it ahead of time as well.
Yep. Okay. Thank you.
And then
Sorry if I'm. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
that's okay. Just real quick. Did you say on our first order that you would be willing to do like a half order? Okay, so that was
You did. I did. Good. Yeah.
Okay. No, that's because we have a couple people that want to order them, but we don't know if we're going to hit that first MOQ the first time around. And I think it was like a one-time thing for you. Okay.
That's right. Yeah. And just to finish it off. So when you buy the optimizers, the MOQ for optimizers is a pallet, which is 1,200 of these.
Yes.
And if the average residential system is 30 modules, it's maybe about 40 projects. But as we want to be good partners with you, we do offer a one-time half quantity or a breakage. So basically take that pallet, cut it in or split it in half. There's a $150 breakage fee for that, just
Sure.
FYI. But yes, we can accommodate a 600 order for the first time. Yep.
Okay, cool. I know that one of the salespeople that was here wanted me to ask that. I'm like, I think that was them. So
Yeah.
I mean, the other part of it too is I told them we're going to be using you guys moving forward for a lot of these development projects. I would assume, I'm hoping that some of our like resi orders kind of piggyback on some of the residual extras and all that kind of stuff too. But I think just for this first one, I think we may end up using that. So
Excellent.
awesome.
Well, I know it's 1:29. I actually, unfortunately, do have a hard stop coming up here in 1 minute. So there's another pressing questions now. I just want to extend my thank you for you guys for being good partners. I'm really looking forward to working together with you. I'll get these information in an email over to you so you've got all of that. And let's talk about scheduling a training day for your installers. But I'm here if you have any questions. Ping me via email, call me on my phone. I'm always happy to help.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tim.
Thank you,
Thanks, Tim.
everybody.
Thanks, Tim.
Thanks, Tim.